Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of November 10, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. The day's main effort saw the 2nd Army's 1,435th report the liberation of Hnatovka. In Krasnoarmeysk, Russian assaults advanced into the Dinas area and contested the central district while clearing the western industrial zone. 7 relief attacks from Ukraine's Hryshyne and 2 breakout attempts from their Skala troops were repelled. A report was made that 244 buildings were liberated within 24 hours. In Dnipro, the 5th pushed forward in the southern sector toward Vostochny and Zapadny. Sector reports indicate up to 510 enemy personnel neutralized, along with 4 armored fighting vehicles and 6 other vehicles destroyed. A separate tally records more than 200 personnel eliminated, plus the destruction of a Spartan APC and a Kazakh AFV. The operational concept used was cellular encirclement, dividing districts into smaller sections, isolating micro-pockets, cutting off ammunition, medical evacuation, and communications, then systematically reducing them.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel, set the stage. What was the purpose of the long-range strike package overnight, and how should we interpret its timing?
The salvo was aimed at the arteries of operational tempo rather than the muscle. Hitting airfields, radio and radio-technical intelligence centers, a storage site for Olkha rockets, and UAV assembly and storage is about interrupting reconnaissance, strike generation, and the repair cycle. If you consistently degrade sensing and munitions flow, the opponent's brigades arrive at the line less informed, less protected, and less supplied. The Kinzhal mention signals a desire to penetrate hardened or time-sensitive targets, compressing the window for Ukrainian air and air defense reactions. The timing matters because it synchronizes with ground objectives. You don't launch a precision strike at night just to count craters, you do it to make the next 72 hours of ground fighting cheaper. When rail spurs choke, workshops go dark, and rocket stocks thin, encirclements accelerate, urban cells crack sooner, and counterbattery becomes less precise. That's the intended cascade.
Let's start in the north. What stood out across Kianitsa, Malaya Korchakovka, Novaya Sek, Pavlovka, Proletarskoye, and Volchansk?
The north functioned as a shaping and fixing sector with enough bite to matter. Mechanized and assault formations took losses, but I'd emphasize the effects on enablers, an M777 removed from the counterbattery picture, an EW station struck, and multiple supply depots hit. When your eyes dim and your stockpiles shrink, your battalions feel heavier without moving an inch. Operationally, this is economy of force. You tie down Ukrainian brigades along the border belt so they can't surge south without risk. The art is to keep pressure with fires, EW, and reconnaissance while rotating line units on a timetable. You don't try for a decisive breakthrough here unless the enemy creates it for you by thinning too far.
Kupyansk remains pivotal. 3 relief attempts were reportedly repelled. What's the encirclement geometry now?
Encirclement is a math problem disguised as tactics. The 6th Army kept the ring elastic, never static enough to be ranged in by counterbattery, never porous enough to invite a corridor. Relief thrusts from Blahodat and Petrovka were broken up, while armored mobility, M113S and HMMWVs, took attrition alongside multiple EW sites. That combination blinds both the trapped units and the rescuers. The decisive variable remains the river. If the Oskil crossings can't be restored either because bridging trains are interdicted or repair teams can't hold the banks under fire, the pocket dies on a schedule. Preventing restoration matters more than any single skirmish. That's why you see persistent strikes on EW, depots, and counter-battery radars. Keep the pocket hungry and deaf, and time finishes the job.
The South is described as more advantageous lines and positions. Translate that into practical gains.
That's bite-and-hold doctrine. Positions around Lyubovka, Kostantinivka, Kramatorsk, Platonovka, Siversk, and Sloviansk weren't taken for spectacle. They were taken to shorten friendly artillery timelines and lengthen the defenders. When EW sets go quiet and depots burn, lateral Ukrainian movement becomes slower and noisier. Tanks and guns destroyed matter, but the enduring effect is the defenders' shrinking ability to rotate and resupply without punishment. Acceleration here depends on the sensing duel. If Ukrainian counterbattery and ISR degrade further, small advances can be parlayed into deeper hooks. If not, the method remains incremental. Take ground that sees more than it costs to hold.
The day's main effort appears to be the center, Hnatovka reportedly taken, heavy action in the Dinas microdistrict and the central district, and ongoing moves in Dimitrov. How is the urban fight being executed?
As a series of small sieges. In Krasnoarmeysk, the fight is cellular. Carve districts into compartments, sever their ammo and medevac routes, jam their comms, and then reduce each cell at your convenience. The reported liberation of Hnatovka is less important than what it signals. Lateral routes are collapsing at the edges as well as inside the grid. In Dimitrov, pressure from Vostochny through the southern blocks toward Zapadny keeps the defender off balance. FPV drones convert attempted armored corridors into casualties before they become breakthroughs, while engineers keep breaching lanes open so assault companies don't stall on the next wall. Sustainment is the governor. Commanders who write fire plans against assured resupply win urban fights. Commanders who write against hope do not.
The report cites hundreds of buildings cleared in 24 hours. How do you maintain tempo without outrunning ammunition and medics?
Rotation before exhaustion, pre-staged casualty evacuation, and ammunition discipline. In cities, you fire for effects, against breach points, machine gun nests, and observation posts, not for comfort. The assault plan matches what the trucks and rails can deliver, not the other way around.
Eastward, Novo and Sladko were reportedly taken, with strikes reaching Alexandrovka, Danilovka, Orestopol, Pokrovsky, and Dobropilya. What does that signal?
It signals erosion along the seam. When counter-battery radars and EW curtains thin, trenches stop being walls and start being guidelines. Company-sized probes pass where they would have been shredded a month ago. The locations matter less than the pattern. If reserves are siphoned toward the center and west, the seam widens. The doctrine here is opportunism. Probe broadly, surge where the data says the curtain is weak, and avoid committing mass where it can't be fed.
Along the river, we're hearing about Lukyanovsky, Orikhiv, Ivanivka, and Nikolskoye, plus hits on EW and depots, and a counter-battery radar destroyed. Why does this matter today?
Rivers are logistics wars disguised as geography. If you destroy warehouses and jam communications, every cross-bank resupply becomes slower, louder, and riskier. Taking out a counter-battery radar doesn't just save guns, it creates windows, 20 minutes here, 40 there, when you can move boats, fuel, or medevac with lower risk. Winter makes this cruel. Currents, ice, and fog punish predictability. The playbook calls for deception bridging, dispersed ferry points, heavy night movement under drone reconnaissance, and rapid repair teams on standby. The side that keeps air defense and EW stocked and crews rested will own those narrow, safe windows.
Air defenses reportedly downed multiple HIMARS and over 100 UAVs. Does that change river planning?
It changes consumption rates and pacing. High interception counts burn munitions and operator hours. River moves are scheduled around munitions availability as much as weather. Without that discipline, perfect plans drown under drones.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that strategically, winter rewards the side that hides logistics and rotates cleanly. If the center's ring keeps contracting while river crossings remain denied in the west and interdicted along the Dnipro, the defender will be forced into reactive reserve shifts, opening seams in the east or the southern arc. The next phase will be decided less by dramatic arrows and more by who sustains the attritional math without blinking.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater